Hi, and welcome to Theater Talk. I'm your host, Kristen Garbarino. Tonight's guests are from Quantum Theater, playwright Gab Cody and actor Rita Reis, and from Pittsburgh Irish and Classical Theater, actors Martin Giles and David Whalen. Thanks for watching. Who are collaborating on Fat Beckett at Quantum Theater. Gab wrote Fat Beckett and is also playing the part of Sophie. Her plays have been produced at Urban Stages, Bricolage, and No Name Players. Gab is also a filmmaker and has had screenings at the Cleveland International Film Festival, the New York City Horror Film Fest, and the San Francisco Independent Film Festival. Rita has a diverse resume, having been an assistant director on a documentary in Portugal and having worked with theater groups in Mozambique. Next year, she will perform in Les Enfants in Luxembourg. Gab and Rita, thank you so much for joining me.
Absolutely. Our pleasure.
Yes. Gab, tell me what your inspiration was for Fat Beckett.
Well, Rita and I were in grad school together at Point Park University, and we were studying Beckett with Sheila McKenna, who's wonderful, in a comedy class. And we were also studying comedy theory with Kyle Boston, who's an amazing theater professional. And we were taking a clowning class from an instructor named Gail McNeely. And we were working on comedian, clowning, and buffoon. And all of that coalesced in my subconscious. And as I was walking to meet Rita one day, the name Fat Beckett popped into my head, and I thought it would be so wonderful if we could play clowns in an existential world like they do in Godot. Because women are not allowed to play the clowns in Godot. Samuel Beckett has very strict rules regarding who can play in his pieces, only as directed by the script. So you cannot have cross-gender or...
So you wanted to give the women a chance.
It's for the ladies.
ladies.
So I said that to, that initial idea, Fat Beckett, women playing in a Godot-like world, and Rita said, yes.
And also she brought up right away the bilingualism, because Beckett writes in French and in English, and wrote, and he translated also his work. And it's very interesting to read the two versions when you're able to, because it's like a new piece that comes out, because the choices of words the translations are amazing. So it was fantastic to think about that, because we both speak French and English, and we had just seen a show where gibberish was involved, and we thought, what about if someone doesn't know the other language but can still understand everything because of the acting?
And so you actually don't have to know anything about Beckett to enjoy the piece. Yeah, you don't have to know anything about Godot. You don't have to have that background. If you have it, there'll be certain things that you might laugh at that others won't. But
yeah,
it's like, a comedy.
It's like The Simpsons. You know, there are plenty of levels, but still, a kid can enjoy it, and plenty of levels can enjoy it. And the French is also the same thing. You don't need to speak French, but if you do, you might get some other things.
So you had this idea, and you were like, yeah, let's do it. I feel like the hardest part would actually be sitting down and writing it and getting it going. How did you?
Well, first we found a barn, and then we contacted Judy Garland's ghost. And we were like, let's put on a show in a barn. No, okay. Yes. That was what happened. We had a seance, right?
Yes.
We developed the piece for a couple of years, first at school, and we used a lot of physical theater techniques because we are both instructors and teachers of physical theater movement. I teach commedia and mask. So we used those techniques to develop the characters. And we worked again with Gail McNeely, who's a wonderful, wonderful teacher. And after we'd created the characters, then I began to create more of the script. So first I created part of the script, and then we created the characters, and then more of the script. And Rita was really instrumental in all of that.
Yes.
Yes, yes, it's true. And she has a much better command of the French language than I do. So I would write something in English, and then I would write it in bad French, and then she would correct the French, and you know.
And basically, Gab wrote, and I would read and go like, "Wow, what about this?" And she every time we would pop from the development of characters to the writing she was doing, and I would give her some feedback, and we would work on the bilingualism too, and also focusing on the Beckettian themes that are scarcity. But in our case, we chose to also work with abundance because he was coming from Second World War scarcity world, and we are now in such consumption world. We also focused on the themes of being a woman, of stress with fertility, and plenty of other things about the female, and of course the big Beckettian theme that is the existentialism, like how weird it is to be alive and to every morning wake up and brush your teeth and the next morning again.
And those conversations were very helpful. It was about a 2-year process. Wow. And it was wonderful to have that developmental process for a piece and to collaborate, and then to pitch the show in a reading to Carla Booz at Quantum. It was our dream that she would be interested in the project.
Yes, actually, the first time we met at Coca, I mean, about the project, when Gab came to me and said, "What about doing?" After that walk, and what about doing a project called Fat Beckett, bilingual? And I was like, yeah. And we thought it would be awesome if we could do it at Quantum. Yeah, and that's first day. And we're doing it. It's
and it's wonderful. It adds an amazing element to the show, the site-specific. Yeah. Carla suggested, this. I think that your piece might benefit from a site-specific production, and she was absolutely right. It is
and the place
fantastic location.
Yes,
and
tell us about the location and why you picked it and how it works for the piece.
Well, it's the old schoolhouse in Lawrenceville, and we picked it because it's a block from our house. No, we picked it. Sorry,
don't tell people where you live.
I know. I don't live there. I live in Detroit. So, it's very nice there.
Oh, beautiful.
It's a beautiful place. Lots of vacant places, so you can just move
Big
in anywhere.
Places to live.
So we picked it because we were looking for something that was both intimate, because there are only 2 actors in the show, but also captured a vast quality. So we didn't want something that was very closed in. It had to have expansiveness.
Yes, there are parts where you're standing on top of a mountaintop, and it's always moving all over.
So we looked at several places, but when we arrived at the old schoolhouse, this is it. It was cool. It captured those 2 dynamic opposites of being intimate but also vast, and
the place went through fire and water damage, and it's beautiful. It looks like a piece of art. Those walls are and the lighting.
Scott Nelson is our lighting designer, and he's doing an amazing job. And Kellen Anderson is our wonderful scenographer. He designed the set and the costumes and the props and designed everything. So Kellen and Scott are working together.
Yeah, and the aesthetic of the show is like, I look at it and I'm like, oh, I would like to watch this show. I really, and because as a theater person, you go to so many shows, it's...
And you're in so many shows.
Yeah. I enjoy a lot of the shows I've been in, but this is my favorite.
Well, it's so special because you have been in it for so long, and I'm sure these characters are so developed, and you probably have such a special relationship with them after spending so much time working with them.
Yeah, and we really worked. Gab really used what we had developed together. So the characters are very. They kind of tell also the story of two women, a friendship. I don't know how to say that. So it's touching.
Gab, what are some of the challenges of writing in an anti-realistic style?
It's liberating.
Yeah.
Is that a challenge? Cool. No, I think it's wonderful. I
guess when I was reading the script, I was like, how do you write? Like, sort of about seeming nothing, but it is something, but maybe not as apparently.
I had a wonderful experience with this particular play, and it had to do with the way that we developed it together, and we discussed the ideas a lot. And I like to say that I really let my subconscious write this play, and my conscious mind went in and crafted, and after I'd written it, Rita and I discussed it. But I think that there was certainly more of I felt more strongly. I mean, you have multiple minds in your one mind that are fueling your creativity. But this was a really interesting process because of the pattern. It's a pattern play. And so it is essential that it still have a really satisfying structure and that you can still be engaged and follow the characters. But it doesn't happen in linear time in the way that a naturalistic play would. But that's actually wonderfully liberating and delightful. And I think that, as Rita said, we're creating something that we would like to see. This is the kind of theater that we would like to go see. And so it's a delight. And
and naturalism is also a style. I mean, this is just, we could call this more realistic than naturalism, because you have the monotony of life. So and your brain works in a way that naturalism doesn't capture quite well.
This is much more realistic.
Yes.
Well, I want to quickly bring up your third counterpart of this. Your husband, Sam Turge, is directing.
Sam Turk is directing, and he's fantastic.
Yes. What is it like collaborating together, and who wins disputes about the text, the playwright or the director?
I think Sam and I have a really good way of working together, and it is, like any good relationship, it is based on trust. So I really trust his taste, I trust his ideas, I trust his instincts, and he does the same for me. So I think it is a very successful collaboration, and I think the play always wins.
I love it because when I have a question and they want me to communicate with the other one, they say sometimes, ask the director, ask the playwright. It's not Sam, it's not my husband.
Style.
And it's perfect because like where things are happening. They work wonderfully together. It's fantastic, and I trust them.
That's great. Wonderful. Thank you so much for coming on the show and talking about this very cool piece.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Quantum Theater presents Fat Beckett, running December 1st through 18th. For tickets, call 888-71-TICKETS or visit them online at quantumtheater.com. Best of luck with the show.
Thank you very much. We'll see you there.
Yes, absolutely.